Alright, so I've got a Void Warlock build for you guys to pull into this week's Corrupted Grandmaster Nightfall. If you're looking to farm the Adept Slammer, I've gotten several so far. I put together a Arc Titan build that's up on the channel. Thank you for all the engagement on that. Basically, the idea behind this video and the last video was to have fun with the game in a way that doesn't force you to play into the weekly surges all the time. You can benefit from overcharged weapons and surges to that effect, even if you're not on the weekly surging subclass, right? So for this week on the GM, we've got Stasis and Solar. Solar is in literally every single Nightfall. Every week it's surging. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I am sick of running Solar all the time. So instead of making yourself bored and quitting the game, which a lot of people are doing, you can be effective on other builds. It's just you have to think outside the box, and so that's what I'm trying to do here, while also benefiting from surges and overcharged weapons, because a lot of people don't understand this completely, right? So because Stasis is surging this week, Stasis weapons make sense, right? Because we've got Unstoppable and Overload champions to take care of. That affects my decision to use the exotic weapon that I'm using here, which is Wicked Implement. Wicked Implement is basically like the Polaris Lance of Unstoppables and Overloads. With Polaris Lance this season, you can take care of barriers and Unstoppables because Radiant scorches, and you get Radiant from precision hits, so that allows you to basically pierce barrier shields and stun Unstoppables with the ignitions. Wicked Implement does the same thing, but it needs no help from the seasonal artifact ever. So if you ever go into any kind of Nightfall where you need to take care of both Unstoppables and Overloads, Wicked Implement does everything. It never runs out of ammo. It's an exotic primary, which means that you're getting a lot of use out of it as far as damage and ad clear. It's got good range, so you can play at a safe distance, and you get more heavy ammo drops because you're using a exotic primary. So I put together this Briarbinds build, and I was actually incredibly surprised how useful it actually is in GMs. This is like I would say it's equally as useful as having a Well Radiance, if not more so, because you can literally weaken every single champion, every target. Like, you could just constantly keep that weakening going with your Child of the Old Gods and your grenades. So this provides a lot of utility and support, right? It's basically a support build. You're debuffing all targets all the time, which is allowing yourself and your teammates to do 25% more damage, 15% more damage to all weakened targets. And now, because I'm using Wicked Implement to take care of the champions, it frees up my other two slots to use whatever I want. So I'm using 2 grenade launchers, and the reason for that is because I want to benefit from the seasonal artifact in some way. So I'm using Blast Radius, right? Because one of the key things to this build is I need to maintain armor charge so that I can have good uptime on my recovery and discipline, and spamming those grenades and rifts and void souls. Right, so Blast Radius gives you armor charge for rapid final blows with grenade launchers. Additionally, I'm using the Stasis mods. I'm using Solar GL and a Stasis GL, so I can benefit from Flame, Fiber, and Freeze. I can benefit from Torch if I'm in a fire team where my teammates are making me Radiant, because if I'm Radiant, it means that all the targets that I touch with Wicked Implement are getting extra weapon damage. Pillar of Ice just spawns additional stasis crystals, so a lot, you get some more ad clear out of that. Every time you kill something with Wicked Implement, you spawn that headstone. Then you can spawn additional crystals. And then Hail to Storm, shattering frozen targets and stasis crystals, deals increased damage, right? So because of Hail to Storm, Wicked Implement is doing even more damage. And shattering stasis crystals slows targets, right? And so slow is our effect to stun on overloads. Shatter is our effect to stun unstoppable champions. And then additionally, Dragon's Bite gives you a chance to freeze targets immediately after breaking a shield with a stasis weapon. So that can come in handy. Don't forget your Scorn modifier to do extra damage to Scorn, and that's basically all I need from the artifact. Now, as far as the fragments and aspects that I chose to use here, I'll go over the weapons and combat mods next. Nova Bomb Vortex, Cataclysm is going to get shot out of the sky pretty often, especially if you have to use your super from range, right? You can use the slow bomb if you're up close, obviously not too close, you don't want to kill yourself, but if you're close enough and you got like a champion stunned and there's no fire, then yeah, you can probably get away with Cataclysm. But Vortex Nova Bomb is just, it doesn't get shot out of the sky, it has a huge AoE effect, and it does damage over time for longer than Cataclysm. This is better for burst damage, this is better for crowd control, and just kind of doing damage over time, I suppose. But yeah, I tried both, and this was more effective. Healing Rift, just generally a good idea, especially when you have teammates that can make you radiant. There's no point in running an Empowering Rift. Having that healing ability is just way more useful. Vortex grenades, because they're just basically the best void grenade. And then I'm running Child of the Old Gods, because that is a must if you're going to do a Briarbinds build. It enhances your Child of the Old Gods. So you need the Void Soul, you need this aspect. And then Feed the Void here, because I can spam a lot of grenades, which is going to give me Devour. And I can also get Devour from my Child of the Old God kills and my melee, right? My melee is kind of a non-factor here. But yeah, so it's free Devour, can't complain about that, especially with this aspect now, since Devour overall in the game has been nerfed. Now Devour only really gets its full effect with Voidlock, right? It says your Devour effects are improved, restoring additional health and grenade energy. This is a change they made this season at some point. So the other subclasses, or if you're using the fragment to get Devour, you're going to have a lesser version of Devour. So this is the good version of Devour. This is a toss-up though. If you feel like you don't need Devour, you're playing at range, you got your Healing Rift, you have other ways to heal. The amount of grenade energy that you get from Devour is not super great anyway. It's like having Demolitionist on a primary weapon, I'd say. It's just a little bit here and there. So if you want to run bigger grenades that last an extra second, I think it's only an extra 1 second, maybe 2, then you can use Chaos Accelerant. But then you also have to spend more time charging your grenades. And so that can be, sometimes that could be an issue unless you're using like Controverse holds where you get that damage resistance while you're charging your grenade. I find it easier just to throw the grenade instantly. It just feels better, especially with this build when you need to use Child of the Old Gods. Then the fragments I'm using, Echo of Harvest. This is kind of, well, I don't want to say it's a must, but you can really take advantage of weakening. Like if you're weakening everything with your grenades and your Void Soul, then you're getting free Orbs of Power and Void Breaches. And the Void Breaches are especially good because it gives you Rift energy, right? So it means that I could spam my Rift even more often, and get more Void Souls downrange more often. Echo of Undermining, because we want our grenades to weaken as well, just for more orbs and more Void Breaches and just more team support, right? Because all this debuffing is supporting the entire team, right? So all those hunters using their Nighthawk or Polaris Lance, like everything is just being enhanced. Everything's yellow numbers all the time, purple everywhere. Yeah, you definitely want to use this fragment. It's one of the best for Void. Echo of Remnants to make those Vortex grenades last 50% longer, I want to say. So Echo of Remnants actually gives you a longer duration, longer extended duration of Vortex grenades than Chaos Accelerant does, right? The aspect makes the Vortex grenade a lot bigger, but it only extends the duration by, like I said, 1 or 2 seconds. Remnants extends it by like 3 or 4 seconds. And then I'm using Echo of Expulsion just for additional explosions, targets that I kill with my grenade. Pocket Singularity, or the Void Soul are going to explode, right? And another thing to remember here is that Child of the Old Gods actually gives you grenade and melee energy, right? If you're running a healing rift, then your Void Soul gives you grenade energy, right? So it's kind of got Devour built into it, right? So I'm getting quite a lot of grenade energy from the combination of Void Soul and Feed the Void. Stats I'm running here, 100 resilience because I'm taking a lot of penalties from my fragments. I'm running 70 and 70 for recovery and discipline. Font of Restoration here to get my resto up to tier 10, right? Because this gives me an extra 30 stats in recovery. And then I'm running Font of Focus to get an extra 30 stats in discipline. So it's actually a triple 100 build as long as I have armor charge. And so because of that, I want to have good uptime on my armor charge, which can sometimes be an issue if you're playing at range. If your teammates are taking kills, then it could be sometimes hard to generate orbs. But like I said, I'm using Echo of Harvest, so all the weakened targets can give me orbs. And then I'm using from the seasonal artifact, whatever you call this, thermodynamic siphon. So solar and stasis kills are also going to produce orbs of power because I'm using wild style. That's a solar weapon. You know, there's a chance that I can get some orbs from that. And then obviously my stasis weapons. Yeah, so that's stat distribution for you. And then, like I said, Wicked Implement for champs, Wild Style for utility, blinding enemies, more team support. It does do some really good chunk damage if you can get surrounded. Even if you're not surrounded, double fire grenade launchers do a lot of damage. Envious Assassin is kind of that pseudo auto-loading, so as long as you get a few kills in between shots, then you can basically continue to use this thing without ever having to reload. And then Dimensional Hypotrochoid to, you know, synergize with the fact that I'm using stasis weapons and I'm benefiting from the weekly stasis surge. Although I will say, even if stasis wasn't surging this week and say it was strand, this would still get a 25% extra damage buff because it is actually a nanotech tracer rockets origin trait, and if you select this perk right here, then that weapon will always be overcharged. But I'm basically using this for ad clear and additional survivability with unrelenting. This is basically forbearance, but it's got, like, you know, say you've got an ambitious assassin on forbearance. Well, I mean, this has 5 in the mag, right? So 5 is better than 2, and it's a heavy weapon, so it's doing more damage. This thing is actually, with the buff, with the grenade launcher reserve buff and the waveform, the heavy waveform, wave frame, I should say, buff, this thing is actually pretty darn good. Yeah, you probably saw from the clips, you know what I'm talking about. So I would definitely craft one. Maybe have a good hula baloo, but yeah, don't sleep on the compressed wave frames, especially if you've got decent weapons and you've got a decent super to take care of bigger targets from range. Then you can get away with a ad clear style of heavy, right? So either machine gun or a waveform grenade launcher. Then as far as the combat mods go, as I already went over, I'm using surges, and then I need to, I'm also using stasis surge, right? So one of the things with Wicked Implement is it actually gives you stasis shards, right? I think it's Tithing Harvest, right? It's destroying stasis crystals, landing precision final blows, creates a stasis shard. That stasis shard, regardless of how far away it is, it will track to you, you'll get it, and that means that if you're using elemental charge, it means that you can get armor charge from playing at range. You don't have to go out and look for an orb of power. You can just, you know, stay at range, slay out with Wicked Implement, and you'll get armor charge every now and then from picking up those stasis shards, or not even picking them up, they automatically come to you, right? So it's kind of like having shield break charge. Just a really good way to get armor charge easily, consistently, without putting yourself at risk. And because I'm using Echo of Harvest and I'm making Void Breaches, I'm also getting armor charge when I pick up Void Breaches. And, you know, there's an orb next to the Void Breach always because, I mean, that's what the fragment does. You kill a weakened target, it drops an orb of power, it drops a Void Breach, you go and scoop it up, you pretty much have full armor charge, right? So that's a good way to maintain armor charge, because in Grandmasters it can be sometimes an issue to maintain armor charge, especially if you're playing at range, right? If you're playing very aggressive and you're killing lots of enemies all the time, then yeah, you can maintain armor charge that way, but GMs is a little bit different. I'm using double arc resist here. I found that help, especially because, you know, this could be a little bit risky in Cydia if you don't have teammates that are you know, able to hold their own for the final boss fight. So the double arc resist kind of helps, and then I'm using fastball just to be more precise with my grenade throws, heavy ammo finder, and time dilation, so every stack of armor charge lasts for 15 seconds instead of 10. So if I get full stacks at 3, then I've got 45 seconds of armor charge, right? So that's pretty much the build, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. The unedited gameplay is coming up next. It was about a 20-minute run. I believe we got platinum. I got a slammer at the end and an adept one. So overall, it was a pretty good run. Figured I'd show you I used LFG, Fireteam Finder, and I got a couple of good teammates. You know, I checked out their loadouts. It looked like we'd probably be okay, so we went ahead with it. It was a no mic run. Like I said, platinum, around 20 minutes. So overall, you know, pretty good. Anyways, I will catch you in the next one.
Copy that. Standing by.
I'm heading inside now. There's our tech unit. You ready?